I'm Igor Krupnik. I'm cultural anthropologist working at the Smithsonian Institution in Washington, D.C. And the project that I'm one of principal coordinators, which is called SIKU, which is the abbreviation, the acronym for the project title, Sea Ice Knowledge and Use. It's project number 166. SIKU is also the Eskimo word for sea ice. It's the same word for sea ice in all Eskimo languages, from the Bering Strait, from Russia to Alaska to Canada to Greenland. So we use a very nicely found acronym which is understandable to everyone. SIKU is a project that engages communities from across the north, probably about 15 to 20 indigenous communities from Russia, Alaska, Canada, and Greenland, scientists from 5 nations who are to study, are already studying, indigenous knowledge about sea ice and about use of sea ice by today's people of the North. Sea ice is extremely important to the residents of the Arctic, and particularly to Arctic indigenous people, because they not only live next to the sea ice for 6 to 8 months of the year, they hunt on ice, they travel on ice, they use ice as a platform for getting most of their winter food. And so their knowledge and use of sea ice is really critical in understanding how people and cultures adapted to this cold and ice-covered environment. What is even more important is that both cultures of the North are changing very rapidly, and the sea ice is changing very rapidly. People are changing languages, switching from native languages to English or French or Russian or Danish or other languages. People are changing equipment, so they now hunt with very powerful boats and vehicles. They use satellites, they use radios, they don't use traditional means of navigation anymore, or at least at some places. But also the ice is changing. So what we are documenting is really something that won't be available 50 years from now, both in terms of human knowledge and in terms of sea ice, because we have all these scenarios of sea ice kind of vanishing in the Arctic, at least in the summertime, by 2040 or 2050. So in the 5th IPY, 50 years from now, our next generations of scientists will not get what we have today. So we are mostly documenting some of the most precious knowledge that exists, still exists about sea ice. This image is of the community of Savunga on St. Lawrence Island, Alaska. That's the place I've worked for many years, and this is the community which very actively participates in the documentation of its knowledge of sea ice and of climate change. Things that we are doing in those villages, and they are shown on the map, which represents just one portion of the SIKU operations. That's Bering Strait area, Siberian shore to the left and Alaskan shore to the right, and St. Lawrence Island right at the bottom of the slide. In most of those communities, we are recruiting local people to do sea ice observations, sometimes in the languages they still use, in the native languages they use. We're also doing what we call dictionaries of sea ice. So people are collecting and recording the terminology for various types of sea ice that exists in their native languages and dialects. And most of the lists that we are getting have from 80 to 90 to 100 different words for sea ice. And for example, this slide, which has been taken, this picture has been taken off Savunga, the same community. There are several different types of ice, and for each of those types of ice there is an Eskimo, a Yupik word, and many more words to identify. We're also documenting how people use sea ice, and this slide is showing people of Savunga hunting on ice, something that may not be, perhaps will not be done 50 years from now, because the ice will be so different from what it is today. And the last slide shows the community of Cape Dorset, and this is a portion of the Canadian family, the Canadian project on the SIKU family, our Canadian colleagues are doing what they call an atlas of the Inuit use and occupancy of sea ice. So their project is to organize all this various data from various villages and various places as an electronic atlas, something that people can use and modify and expand via internet, and the communities can use via internet to know what other people of the North have in their stock for sea ice during the International Polar Year.